What's up, Bulldogs? All right, I want to tell you about the most powerful frame that you can have as a man, right? In regards to women, we'll talk about it in regards to women, but it applies in general, which is the frame of not being needy, but simply saying what you want and saying what you don't like. That's it, with nothing attached to it, right? So let me try to explain this, because if you get this, it's an extremely powerful concept, and it is going to make you a lot more successful with women and just successful in life in general with people, all right? Because it is such a powerful frame. So let's talk about, first of all, the idea of saying what you want with no attachment to it, right? Everything that we want to do as a man is with no attachment. Now, when I say no attachment, I mean that you're not invested in the outcome, right? It doesn't mean that you don't want a particular outcome for things. Obviously, you're always going to want some kind of outcome, but you're not invested in that outcome, right? It's sort of like if you wanted to go to dinner and you're like, yeah, I would go to a steak restaurant or a nice Italian place or sushi, and I don't really care which one. I mean, I'm picking steak, but if that doesn't work out, hey, sushi's great. Also, Italian is great, right? So that's the idea, is that you might have something in mind, but it doesn't matter. You're not vested, you're not attached to that particular outcome, right? As opposed to if you're like, oh, I don't want to do Italian or sushi. I'm so sad because I can't go eat steak dinner tonight. You see what I'm saying? That's an attachment to an outcome. Right? Now, this applies obviously in a lot of different areas, especially in dealing with women, when we talk about attracting women and interacting with them. But let's talk about specifically how this applies to that idea of a frame of asking for what you want, but not being attached to getting it, right? So the way this will work is that, let's say that you are in a relationship with a woman, or so you're dating a girl, whatever it is, and you want something from her, okay? You want her to act in a certain way, to do something for you, to treat you in a certain way, whatever it is, whatever you want, right? Some kind of desired action. You're gonna simply just ask for that. You're gonna say, I would like it if you did this. I would like this. You could even say this would turn me on, right? Whatever you wanna say there, right? Depending on what the thing is. But you're not gonna imply anything other than what your request is, okay? Now, this is hard to do, because if you think back on it, most of the time when you make requests, there's some kind of implicit demand there, or response, or expectation, right? And if that is not met, then you're going to be upset. And that's how you're likely to come across most of the time, honestly, right? If you go back and you look at your interactions, you think about things, right? So, for instance, let's say that you're married and you tell your wife, I'd like it if you wore some lingerie every once in a while. That would turn me on, right? Okay. Now, what you might have done in the past is you might have said that in such a way that you're already upset, you're already annoyed that she's not doing it. And now you're implying that, look, if you don't do this, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be mad. All right? I'm going to be disappointed. There's going to be some consequences in terms of emotional consequences. Like, I'm going to not be as kind, right? I'm going to be upset or butthurt, right? Now, when you do things that way, you've lost all the power, because there's not a great incentive to do the thing. There's only a disincentive, right? So if you get your request in that way, what will happen is it will be out of compliance or avoidance of the consequences, as opposed to enthusiasm, right? When people do things for you, when women do things for you, you want them to do them primarily because they want to do them, right? Or because they want to impress you. They're trying to earn something from you, not they're trying to avoid wrath or your displeasure in the sense of, some kind of emotional reaction that you're going to have, negative, right? You don't want that because there's no enthusiasm. And at the same time, we talk about, all right, now what if you don't like something? It's the exact same thing. I tell guys all the time, the most powerful words that you can ever say to a woman, and you should train her on this, right, is, I don't like that. Now, when you say I don't like that, again, there's no attachment to this, okay? Meaning that you're trying to force a direction. You're not trying to say, oh, you have to do this or I'm gonna be upset. You've already stated that you don't like it, and that should be enough, right? So how do you make that enough? Again, having the non-attachment. It's just this idea that, the woman has to get in her head, look, if I displease this guy, if I do things he doesn't like, well, he's just not gonna wanna, he's gonna lose interest in me, right? I always tell guys, don't get upset at a woman. Don't be angry at a woman, okay? Instead, show some disinterest, right? Displeasure. I'm not happy, all right? But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're unhappy in general, right? You're carrying on, you're moving on. You're like, okay, well, if steak is not what we're having, then sure, Italian food is just as good, right? Now again, you can interpret this as you will, right? In some situations, if you're not in a committed relationship, or even if you want to get out of it, that might mean, hey, you go on, you find greener pastures. There's other women out there. There's plenty of women that will be eager to please you and eager to not displease you. They will care about that, right? And so your way of dealing with it is just, hey, I've made the request. I've said what I wanted. I said what I didn't like. You're not complying with those things. It's cool. I'm not upset. I'm not angry at all. However, I'm gonna go find what I'm looking for somewhere else. You're not it, right? That's it, okay? Now, you would never say that, because if you say that, then now you're creating those expectations, right? And so, and if you are, and let's say more committed, like a marriage or something like that, obviously you're not gonna do that, right? I mean, that's not, this is gonna work out in the long run, but you're simply just gonna go on and do some other things. Do some other activities, get involved in a sport, go to the gym, go for a run, do some other thing, right? Because you've already stated those things, okay? And what's gonna happen is that normally a woman is used to you constantly like checking up, following up. Is she doing what you asked? Is she, stopping doing what you told her not to do, right? Or you said you didn't like, but you're not gonna do any of that. You're just gonna be involved in other stuff. It's not gonna be that big. And what's gonna happen is she's gonna get concerned. She's gonna say, wait a minute here. This guy, something's up here, because why is he not getting upset like he normally does? Like, does he not care? Does he not care? Right? And then that's what's gonna make her start to say, oh, maybe I better start thinking about pleasing the guy I'm with. Maybe I should start thinking about some of the things that he said. And over time, as you establish this, right, this frame, you become the kind of guy that it's always good. Like, you're always good. Like, shit's always good for you, right? So people around you don't feel pressured by you. They don't feel like they have to perform or do something, but they're eager to earn your approval, right? And they don't want your disapproval, right? So this is, like I said, one of the most powerful frames that you can have. It doesn't just apply to women, it's just in general. If you think about the opposite of this frame, it's kind of the whiny baby frame, right? It's like, I want this, right? I don't like this, right? And then what happens if you don't get your way? You throw a tantrum. Now, yeah, you're an adult man, all right? Perhaps you're not throwing tantrum. I mean, maybe you are, right? Okay, in the privacy of your home, but maybe you're not throwing a tantrum, right? But you're doing the same thing, right? You're acting like you're throwing a tantrum. Why? Because you're whining, you're complaining, you're nagging, you're becoming sort of that, or maybe you're just sulking, right? You're displaying this emotional, your inability to regulate your emotions, and you're making yourself attached to the person, attached to the outcome, instead of being an independent man. See, women, what they want is they want this man that's doing his own thing, that's got his own mission, his own agenda, that nothing is going to significantly add to his life or detract from his life, because it's already solid, it's already good, like he's good in himself. And then they want to come into that life and they want to be with that guy, and they want to please that guy, they want to try to impress that guy, they want to try and see if they can get this guy almost kind of to break, right? It's not really, they don't really want to see you break, but they want to see, like, can they tempt you, can they cause you to become now attached where you're needy, where you need this thing, right? And it gets complicated. This is why it's dangerous for guys to get into committed relationships, because once you get into a committed relationship, then you lose some of that leverage, right? You still have to maintain at any time as a man that if you're not treated right, you're gonna walk, right? You have to, your most powerful weapon is your feet, but especially guys, when you're dating, when you're single, when you're just dating a girl, when you're not committed, when you haven't moved in, that level, you've got so much power there, right? Because, and that's how, when you have to train a woman of how to treat you, which you have to do. And I know some of that language, some people are like, what do you mean training like a dog? No, it's not like that. You have to train everybody how to treat you, right? So don't take it personally as if I'm trying to, say women are low or anything. I'm not trying to knock women or anything like that. You should be as good as you can to women and treat them wonderfully, right? So that they are like, man, I don't want to lose this guy, and that's why I want to impress this guy, right? So, but my point is that when you have that leverage, you need to utilize that leverage, right? Because so many guys get into relationships where the woman's disrespectful to him, where she doesn't treat him right, where she would say things that you're like, man, I can't believe that. I saw this little video where this guy's like interviewing these girls and like, if you could cheat on your boyfriend, who would you cheat with, right? And like two girls named some celebrities, and one of the girls was like, I would never cheat on my boyfriend, even if I could. I was like, right? And it was like, she made those other girls look bad. But the point is, like, guys get into those situations, and the way that they do it is because they don't have this powerful frame, right? They're allowing themselves to be disrespected. They're whining about it. They're complaining. These guys think they're standing up for themselves because they're like, don't you dare do that. Don't you dare talk to me like that. Or they're like, this is what I want, right? But in reality, it's coming across as weak because it has to be enforced, right? It has to be followed up on, it has to be checked on, right? It's the same thing, me as a parent, when I'm parenting my daughter, right? I don't tell her to do something and then bug her to do it and check up on her and get upset if she doesn't do it. I tell her to do something, and if she doesn't do that thing, when I do go and check, she's got consequences. She's gonna lose her phone, she's gonna lose electronics, she's gonna get grounded in somewhere. Something is going to happen that gives me power. See, that's the real power that I have. And you have that power too. Now look, if you want to learn more lessons like this, you want to learn how to really turn your life around and become a masculine man, check out the Bulldog Mindset membership. I got a link down below, all right? You can get on monthly calls with me. You get a library of information about masculine, about men, about mindset, about fitness and women and all of that stuff. Everything, my entire brain dump of my life there. So check it out. See you next time.